No, you are not watching a video from 2023. The Browns have once again signed offensive tackle Jaron Christian to be their new left tackle, or at least to provide some depth at that position after we saw DeJuan Jones go down with an IR ankle injury, and then Jedrick Wills, who is battling his way back from a knee injury. So get familiar with Christian yet again because he started 9 games for the Browns last year, closed out the season at left tackle. My suspicion is that it's just a depth signing for now, and as long as Jedrick Wills is healthy, he will be this team's starting left tackle, but that's a big if when it comes to Jedrick Wills being healthy, given that, well, we haven't really been able to get much consistency from Wills over the last season and a half. He's been battling a knee injury all year long. He did not practice on Monday of this week. On Tuesday, today, he was able to practice, so hopefully he can return for Thursday's game against the Steelers. If not, Christian should be able to step right back into that saddle because he closed out the season last year at that position, but this is just more evidence that time is a flat circle. I mean, back-to-back seasons where the starting left tackle to close out the year might be someone who wasn't even on their roster in August. So, Christian, welcome back to the 216. I hope you have a good rest of the season with the Browns if your number is called. If Wills is able to stay healthy and somewhat resurrect himself maybe after his benching and demotion, that could be motivation for him to go out and play some of his best football. But step one for Wills is to stay healthy, something he has not been able to do for about 12 months at this point, and I don't expect that to turn around now. So there is probably not an if, but a when Christian's number is called, he will step in at left tackle. Maybe they want to go with Germain Ifedi. He closed out the game last week at left tackle once Jones went down, but some more depth being added to the Browns' offensive line, a familiar name and face that doesn't need too much time to get accustomed to the playbook and get himself up to speed. So who you got before we get any further in today's episode and talk about Kevin Stefanski's hot seat, which he himself talked about when speaking to the media today? I do want to get the pulse of everyone watching. I know right now it seems grim, but Browns have won 6 in a row on Thursday night, and the Steelers are kind of due for a little bit of a letdown game. So I'll take the Brownies. Let's talk about this matchup because there is a lot of speculation out there that it could be do or die for Kevin Stefanski. He was asked about this from the media today, and he acknowledged that it comes with the territory, right? When you're the head coach of a team in a big city, people are going to want results. And I appreciated that he had that level of understanding that if you're going to be in the entertaining industry, which that's what sports are, and if people aren't entertained, unfortunately, they're not going to look at it in a very humanitarian value of like, you don't want to see anyone get fired. They want to be entertained. If you're the one that's in the way of that happening, they're going to want you out. So before we get any further into this potential change coming if the Browns were to lose to the Steelers on Thursday night, we have a Steelers channel here at Chat Sports. It's hosted by my coworker, Jack Sperry. Sperry loves to talk shit, and he wanted to do a little shit-talking video between myself and the Steelers channel. So without further ado, I want to show you guys Steelers host Jack Sperry's attempt at talking shit.
Browns fans, I cannot wait for this matchup for Thursday night. We all remember what happened last week. Oh, fuck. Browns fans, now that your season is officially over, all you guys have left is the potential. Oh, fuck. Browns fans, now that your season is officially over, all you guys have left is the potential to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers on Thursday Night Football. I gotta tell you guys, it's just not gonna happen, man. Nick Chubb officially washed. Jameis Winston, he's terrible. That defense is now bad once again, and you guys are now in the cellar of the AFC North. We're gonna keep you there. Go Steelers. F the Browns report. F the Browns, and F Matthew Peterson.
Today, Junior, spit it out, Sperry. If you're gonna insult me, do it in one take. So if you hate the Pittsburgh Steelers and you want to demolish them on Thursday Night Football, hit that sub button down below because you can see what I work with every single day, who's across from me in the office. So if you've got someone like that at your place of work, in your school, or in your family, and you can relate to what I go through right there, then I invite you to subscribe to the channel down below. So let's get back to Kevin Stefanski's job being potentially on the line. I talked about this on yesterday's video, and somewhat as expected, the comment section is split. I mean, I don't know if you ever had a coach be truly across the entire National Football League have a fan base split down the middle on whether or not they like or dislike him. The last couple of years, people have trended more towards the liking, but it's still a very murky approval rating. For the record, I don't think I did a good enough job of explaining this yesterday, but I'm not 100% out on Kevin Stefanski. What I am acknowledging is we have seen 2 straight games of missed tackles and lack of effort. And usually the number one driver for a missed tackle is lack of effort. So when you've got players out there that aren't playing hard, that are going into the fourth quarter tied and give up 3 touchdowns, to me, from an ownership standpoint, that screams this is a coach who has lost control of the locker room because they're not out there playing as hard as they could anymore. And when that happens, that's when you see ownership step in and go, listen, I understand fair excuses about being outmatched, being injured, and those are right. But what I'm watching right now is guys not running out plays, guys not putting in 100% effort. Juan Thornhill jogging after players running into the end zone. And when those stack up game after game, heads are going to roll. Now, we did get a recent article from Mary Kay over at Cleveland.com talking about what she's hearing a little bit, which, by the way, here, the Steelers game is pivotal because many a Browns coach has been fired after a loss to their arch rivals. There's no indication that will happen, but Jimmy Haslam is impatient and hasn't looked happy around the building and at practice the past several weeks. I think in order for Stefanski to get fired, it would have to be a blowout. Quick sidebar, by the way. Remember on yesterday's video, we talked about JOK maybe having a season or career-ending injury? Well, Mary Kay asked Stefanski about this today at the media press conference, and he said that JOK is doing well. So I don't think it's that drastic, which I shared in my video yesterday. All right, back on track now. I think it would have to be a major blowout for the Browns to move on from Kevin Stefanski. I also didn't really understand what she meant by coaches have been fired after losing to their arch rivals. For one, the Browns really haven't fired a lot of coaches mid-season before. I mean, the most recent example was Hugh Jackson. But before that, you have to go all the way back to Butch Davis getting fired. And that wasn't under Jimmy Haslam. So I don't really understand where she was trying to get at with that point. I mean, he was fired after a 33-18 loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a little bit of a one-off, though. It's not like there's this huge track record of coaches in the midst of a bad season losing to an AFC North team or the Steelers get canned. It's really only happened once before in the last 25 years. And that was Butch getting fired after a shootout loss to the Cincinnati Bengals in 2004. So I'm going to push back on the idea of Haslam hates losing to rival teams. That's the ultimate kiss of death for coaches. It happened to one coach under Jimmy Haslam. Before we get to the rest of today's episode, I do want to give a big shout out to our great friends over at Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant safe to use anywhere on your body. I walk to work most days. It's about a 30-minute walk, which in the Texas heat can cause me to work up a decent sweat. But when I use Mando, I come into the office pit stain free and not smelling like a used gym towel. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours. Mando is offering new customers $5 off their starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I got a discount code for the Dog Pound to get you guys hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Let's get back to Stefanski potentially being on the hot seat. I will acknowledge that if the Browns lose a third straight game with visible lack of effort, especially on primetime against your rival, under those circumstances, your seat's gonna be a little bit hotter than if your third loss came to the, I don't know, Carolina Panthers in a 1 p.m. hitting away game. No, when it's in front of the folk, when it's in front of the whole country, it's going to be broadcasted and it's going to be under the spotlight. I actually went back a couple of years and I looked at all the head coaches that have been fired mid-season, and I wanted to see what was the straw that broke the camel's back. For Dennis Allen, it was losing to a division rival, the Panthers, at the 1 p.m. time slot. For Robert Salah, it was losing over in the UK, so a little bit of a primetime spot, at least a standalone game. Brandon Staley lost to a division rival. Frank Reich, who lost twice, by the way, so hopefully there's no third instance for him. He lost to the Titans, so not a division rival with the Panthers, and then the Patriots, so not a division rival with the Colts. Josh McDaniels lost on Thursday night, Nathaniel Hackett lost on Christmas, and then Matt Rule lost over in San Francisco. So it's not a clean sweep, but there is a higher percentage chance of, well, look at all the recent coaches who have been fired. Majority of them came after a loss to either a division rival or while playing in prime time, or a combination of both. So I'll turn it over to you guys watching right now. Should Stefanski return in 2025? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down below. I feel like if Kevin Stefanski got fired, he'd get a job very quickly. I think it could be one of those firings that we look back at as a mistake by the Browns. But I also think we're watching this team lose all effort and motivation, and it's not even Thanksgiving yet. When that starts to happen, I really start to fear that it's going to be hard to put it back in the bottle based on all the players, or at least too many of the players, just not, taking the coach's messaging and executing the game plan and giving 110% effort. Those are the signs of a coach that's really lost his ways, and it's time to change things. Before we sign off, how about some keys to victory for the Browns on Thursday? Key number 1, I need a Nick Chubb revenge moment. I don't need to put out 150 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I do need there to be a moment where Nick Chubb can maybe get the last laugh against the Steelers after suffering his brutal injury in Week 2 last year in Pittsburgh. This year, it has not been great for Chubb. 4 games so far, he's averaging 3 yards a carry. It sucks to see. Going into this season, he was, I think, the only running back with a decent enough sample size to average 5 yards or more every single season. It's down 2 yards from his historic rushing average. So it's a bummer to see, to say the least. But I just want a Nick Chubb revenge moment. I want him to hurdle or hurdle or just completely run over Minkah Fitzpatrick. Something. Give me one big moment. Second key to victory, the secondary needs to come alive. It started to a little bit last game against New Orleans, and that's just because Denzel Ward got an interception. And that's all it takes for the secondary to come alive, because going into the Saints game, the team had 1 interception. They doubled it. They're up to 2. But the Warden did extend his streak of having a pass breakup in every single game this season. But it's also important to note that when you're playing Russell Wilson, and not Seahawks Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson as of late, he is very bad when it comes to turning the ball over and being successful still. 0-5 with 2 interceptions. Obviously, the more turnovers you commit, the less likely you are to win the game. But I didn't think it would be this drastic of a drop-off. 2 picks, game's over for Russ. Don't even get me started on 3 or more interceptions. And even with 1 interception, 13-8 isn't anything to write home about. So 1 pick might be enough to seal the deal for the Browns, because I don't think Russ has that fastball anymore to overcome a mistake when he falls behind on the scoreboard a little bit and needs to overachieve to get his team not just back in the game, but back in front as well. Third and final key to victory, you got to fix special teams, and namely just one person in particular, Dustin Hopkins, because this is a special teams nightmare matchup for the Browns. Chris Boswell has been nearly perfect this season. He's 29 for 30. Meanwhile, Hopkins is 14 of 20, 70% on field goals. He, in my book, went 0 for 3 last week in New Orleans. He should be lucky that there was even a spot for him on the plane ride home after that performance. So they got to figure out a way to get their special teams, and mostly just their kicking position, back on track. I'll add one more under the radar key, and it's just, I need Myles Garrett to be Superman. When you got a 2-8 ball club, your stars have to make big plays, right? It's not going to be a bunch of role players that turn this thing around. It's going to have to be Myles Garrett putting together yet another masterclass. Like the Chargers game, where unfortunately it wasn't enough, but it at least kept the score a little bit closer than the Saints game, in a game that he did not record a single stat. So, Garrett, we're going to need one of your vintage strip sack performances, wreaking havoc on Russell Wilson, who's not a very mobile quarterback anymore. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks of his entire career. This has to be a Myles Garrett masterclass if the Browns want to knock off the 8-2 Steelers. Before we get on out of here, I do want to show some love to the Brown and Orange Club. Appreciate you guys so much for supporting the channel. I can't wait to see everyone on Thursday. We're going to have a great watch party because the Browns are going to surprise the country, fade the public. The public loves the Steelers. The public is always wrong. We know that by now. So give me the Brownies, and I'll see everyone on Thursday night for our watch party between the Browns and the Steelers right here at the Cleveland Browns Report.